Hi, this is Mike with GalaxyCon, and tonight I have with me Petey Mongelli, who is the promoter, founder, and guy behind the scenes at Spooky Empire, Ultimate Horror Weekend in Orlando. It's the big horror convention heard around the world. And underneath Petey is Terry Cronin. And Terry Cronin is, I don't know, Terry, what are you? You're a comic book writer, Students of the Unusual, Horspower G, your new book, The Healing, which I wrote a chapter for. We'll talk about that. John Edler says, who's ready to party? Clearly, John Edler is ready to party.
Convention all-star.
He's a convention all-star. He's probably been to more conventions than me and Petey combined.
Absolutely.
Terry's a novelist who's written the Skinvestigator series of books. And you're a filmmaker. You run the Melbourne Independent Filmmakers Festival in Melbourne, Florida. You're a Renaissance man and a jack of all trades.
I think we need more titles.
I think we just run conventions. We're just boring. And then we don't even talk about Terry's real career.
Flattery will get you everywhere.
So Dana Snyder is supposed to be joining us tonight, but as usual, he's a punk-ass bitch, and he apparently is recording something for Disney right now. So he says he'll join us when he can get out or on break or something and pop in. So we'll just spend the next hour making fun of him until he shows up. So this is kind of a weird one because I'm doing this with two buddies who know a lot about conventions and a lot about me. We've all been around each other for a long time. Petey, I know you for 25 years.
Yeah. I mean, we knew each other before the conventions, and when we started doing the conventions, we had a lot of influence on each other of starting it, you know? So it was kind of like crazy, you know?
Long before conventions, when you were, when we were both, roadies and
absolutely, yeah. We worked at Local 500 together, yeah. Or 646 at the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Terry, I know for now almost 20 years. Terry, I knew Terry when I was in my Film World days, and I was showing movies at his film festival before I started doing conventions.
I'm ruined.
You're all right, Terry? What's wrong, Terry?
I think I'm on delay or something.
All right. So here's what you got to do. Did you switch your iPad?
It's my wife's iPad. I don't know her password.
All right. What can you go get that laptop? I know you're old, but
I'll work on this.
All right. We're going to boot you out. Go get the laptop.
Okay.
Log back in when you get the laptop. And Petey, it'll be me and you for a little while.
All right, man.
This is going to be really, really awful.
Nah, it'll be good.
All right.
So, I mean, we've known each other forever, starting the conventions together, and we kind of met because, we worked together, but we were also collectors, man.
Hang on a second. Mike Vendetta, I was not. You're sitting like 5 feet away from me, you son of a bitch. You know better. Anyway, what do you say, Petey? We were both collectors.
Yeah, we were both collectors, and kind of that's how we bonded at work. I mean, and also, all the people giving us a hard time at work.
Well, we were the young guys. We were kids.
We were the young guys at the time. We were the kids, yeah.
And there were all the guys who are our age now that used to,
working for us now.
Yeah, working for us now. They used to beat us up.
Absolutely.
And they hated us.
Uh-huh.
Petey used to love going in the old days. He used to love going to these small toy shows.
Yeah.
These they don't exist anymore.
No, not at all. They were so fun. They used to be like once a week or something, and they were small. I don't know who put them out of business, if it was eBay or us.
I think it was eBay.
Yeah. But yeah, there were these small conventions that you used to go once in a while, though, didn't you?
I went a bunch of times.
Yeah. So when we used to go, and they just were filled with toys, and they would only have one guest. And I remember meeting Butch Patrick, and I was so excited at one of these
those were like once a month. Like those shows are like once a month where they had Butch Patrick. I remember the Butch Patrick one.
Yeah.
Right? Like those were the bigger ones. But then weekly there were like the small ones in like a small little room with like 20 tables.
Absolutely.
And it was like they were selling lunch boxes and toys. and stuff from the 70s. Where we get it all wrong now is, so back then in the 90s, they had toys from like the 60s and the 70s, right? And like the 80s, and that was like old to us, right?
Yeah.
And I used to go to the flea market a lot also. I think you did too.
Yeah, I still do. Still do.
But now it's all toys from like the 90s, 2000, which are the same age as the toys we were getting. You know, like it's the same amount of time. Like like the toys from the 90s now are like 30 years old.
Yeah.
But we don't care about them.
Yeah.
Or the stuff we like is 50 years old.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you know, like all that stuff that, you know, and like you said, like you started collecting the dolls. I was collecting lunch boxes and, you know, comic books. You were into comic books. I was into Kiss and rock and roll memorabilia and stuff. So, and also Cat in the Hat stuff. I was collecting like a lot of Cat in the Hat stuff back then.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you like, yeah. Petey was a little bit of a club kid at one point in time.
Yeah.
Petey Pumpkin Edie.
So, yeah. So, I mean, yeah. So, I mean, we've been doing conventions forever, but, I was watching one of your other shows. You said you started, what was your first convention? It was like, Volcon or no?
The first show I ever went to as a fan, I was like 9 years old. My mom took me in New York to a show in one of the hotels that Creation put on. And it was back when Creation used to do shows like what I do now, like multi-genre.
Yeah.
And their big guest was the Doctor from the original Star Trek.
Yeah.
But they had comic book guys. Like I think like Jack Kirby was there. And like a bunch of comic book dudes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then I moved to Florida, and then my mom took me in '87 to a Volcon show that had Walter Koenig. So I was like 13 then. And that was when I started going to conventions. Now I went to a bunch of the comic conventions, but they were different. The Comic Cons, they weren't like what we do.
Yeah.
They were comic shows where like they would have one or two artists in a room with a bunch of dealers, you know, selling
you know, Bailey Q&As, you know.
Right. There was nothing.
Yeah.
So the Star Trek conventions were more fun. That's where people were hanging out, having fun, hooking up, all that crazy stuff.
I remember when I was starting Screenfest, you used to bring that up to me all the time, how Volcon did these Q&As and all kinds of stuff like that, which most of the toy shows didn't have anything. And then your Comic Cons really didn't do much either.
No.
You know?
Well, you started, we both promoted when we were young. Like I was promoting movie theaters, or I was promoting, you know, nightclub nights.
Yeah.
You worked with this guy, Marv, helping him with the Kiss convention back when you were a kid.
When I was a kid, and then and also like, you know, local bands and stuff like that, going out flyering everywhere. And I mean, that was a major part of flyering, you know?
Yeah. And so I guess, what year was it? 2002?
2002 or 2003, we started Screenfest. Yeah.
Or 2003. I think it was 2003. So
Yeah.
I remember you were like, I'm going to do this thing. There were two guys you were buddies with that were like helping you out. And you were like, I'm going to do this. And we didn't know how to put on shows. You didn't know how to really do it. And everybody was like, this isn't going to work. And I was talking to the guy from summer school the other day, because the guy who played Chainsaw, Dean Cameron, and I told him I had never seen Texas Chainsaw Massacre when I saw Summer School, and then I'm like, oh, what's this? And I gotta go watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre with Gunnar Hansen.
Absolutely, yeah.
And then I said how Gunnar was your first guest.
Yeah, and Gunnar was my first guest because when I was a kid, the first horror movie I ever saw was Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I had a friend named Tom Schimpf who he was like the first guy on our block to get a VHS recorder. And he got Texas Chainsaw Massacre, so we all went to his house to watch it. And that was the first horror movie I ever watched. So when we were putting the show together, me and the other two partners, we were like, hey, man, let's pick who we want as guest. And, like, we all said we should get someone from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you know? And also, I didn't know who Gunnar Hansen was when I started. I had to learn all that stuff, you know?
But he was cheap.
He was cheap. And, that's another thing. The horror people were cheap at the time. That's why it became a horror convention, because the sci-fi people were expensive.
Yeah.
You remember?
Yep.
Yeah.
You did that sci-fi show where you had to pay for everybody.
Had to pay for everybody, you know? And
Kevin Brown is watching.
Kevin Brown, all right.
Kevin.
There he is, man.
And oh God, Satan's Child.
There you go.
Brett's here.
There you go.
Brett. Brett, who was really, instrumental in those early days.
Oh yeah, actually, Brett was there at the second show, and he helped me flyer all the time, man. Satan's Child, who all the people on the message board knows, his name was Brett, and I used to give him piles and piles of flyers, and he would just go out to movie theaters.
He was a beast.
And he would just start handing out flyers. He was like one of my first people that was part of Spooky Empire.
So I remember you got Gunner because, like you said, he was cheap. The sci-fi people all wanted money.
Yeah,
and we were like, we're broke. And so you did the show. You did it first at the Holiday Inn in Plantation.
Yeah,
and I remember that show was amazing. The energy was incredible.
Yeah,
I think you had 1,000 people.
Yeah, it was like about 1,000 people, and it was just like we didn't expect even 1,000 people because we were used to those little toy conventions where it'd be like maybe 100 people. So then this happened, and it was like, whoa, what's going on? And it was in 2 different buildings. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember. You had the Best Western next door. Well, it was the Holiday Inn. It was both part of the Holiday Inn. Then years later, it became a Best Western. Like one tower, one part became a Best Western, the other was the Holiday Inn. They split up the hotels. Yes. Terry, you're back.
Is it working?
Yes. Thank Christ.
So, are you talking about the very first Scream Fest when?
Yes, we are. Are you? Hang on. Are you on your laptop or your phone?
I am on a iPad.
Okay, great. So we're talking about the first Scream Fest. 1,000 people. Gunnar Hansen in the Holiday Inn, where it's 2 buildings with that tiny little ballroom.
Yes,
fantastic.
And they had that bar. They had that cool little bar.
Had a cool bar, and that's where everybody started mingling and started hanging out, and it just started like a little party together. But Terry, were you at the first one or the second one? You were at one of the
2. I think it was at second.
Yeah,
that was the one with Sid Haig, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So we saw things in that bar that shouldn't be allowed.
Yeah.
Or at the pool. I saw things at the pool where it's kind of like an anatomy lesson.
Yeah.
And Terry, you are a doctor, so you.
Well, I know my anatomy.
You know your anatomy.
I don't know if you remember this, but one of our sponsors was Trojan.
I remember.
Condoms, right? So they gave us boxes and boxes of Trojan condoms. And we were showing Texas Chainsaw Massacre in one of the rooms, and Gunnar Hansen was in the room. There might have been like 4 or 5 people in there, but 2 people decided to have sex in there in front of Gunnar.
Oh, great!
Texas Chainsaw Massacre with the Trojan condoms, and that's how Spooky Empire all started.
And now the kid that was conceived there,
is
coming to your show.
Absolutely.
Well, no, I mean. You hope the Trojan worked. There would be, no kid.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah,
that's fair. The couple ended up getting married, Terry, and then started a family properly.
Yeah. Very good.
In a good Christian way.
Very good. Very good. That's important. Raising a family, but taking your family to Spooky Empire happens. Right, there's lots of families that come to Spooky Empire.
Yeah, now it's a family.
Well, the people who grew up going to your show now have kids, and they bring the kids.
Absolutely,
happened to me too.
Yeah.
So I remember the thing I remember about that first show was afterwards, every single person in Fort Lauderdale, was at that show.
Yeah.
There was no way because it was only 1,000 people.
Yeah.
Everybody said, "Oh yeah, I was there," and I remember everybody had Gunner's signature because he was like charging nothing, like $10.
Yeah, it was like $10 an autograph. Some people were charging like $5. But yeah, it was like the most expensive autograph in the room was like $15 at the time.
Right, and I think like 15. It was like Gunner, like an autograph was 10, or maybe an autograph and a photo was 15.
No, photos are free. Everybody did photos for free because that was before MySpace. I'm taking you way back.
Friendster, baby.
Yeah.
Friendster.
And nobody that came to our show went to Friendster. So.
Well, that's I think it was the second Scream Fest. You had a panel, Petey, and it was about making horror movies. And I think it was me, Pat Martin, and that lady who was the author. She always had a panel.
Oh, I totally remember. Yes.
Yeah.
They had the husband.
Yes.
Oh, Glenda?
Glenda Finkelstein. Yes. Yes.
And so we gave a panel on how to make horror movies, and there was this young kid in the audience who just had a lot of questions, and he had a lot of, just passion for it. And we ended up talking to him, and then the next year he brought a horror movie to Spooky Empire. I think you were still Screamfest the next year. And that was Stephen Shea. And he ended up being obviously the documentarian.
Really?
The SuperCon, surviving SuperCon. He's a great friend of ours. But if it wasn't for Screamfest, I never would have met him.
Wow, that's a good story, man. I didn't know.
And there'd be no SuperCon documentary.
There'd be no SuperCon documentary, which, if it wasn't for this damn coronavirus, it would have been the opening movie for the Florida Film Fest. Really drives me crazy.
That's crazy, because I do remember him, but I didn't remember him. I know he said that he'd been to our show and stuff like that, but I never knew. I never put that together. That's
happened. Where we all met at your show, Petey.
Well, not you, but Terry. I met Terry.
but I met Steven at Terry's show. Oh no, I had met Steven at your film festival before that.
At the Melbourne Film Festival.
Had I met him before that? Or no, you met him there. So then I met him.
No, I met him at Screamfest.
Then I would have met him at Screamfest through you.
Yep.
Because I was hanging around you.
Oh yeah, and of course, he's gone on to great things. He keeps doing great things and amazing stuff. And I can't wait for everybody to see Surviving SuperCon. It really tells a lot about you guys and your relationship. Petey, you play a big role in that movie, and Mike, of course, you're the star of the show, besides Sandy.
Well, so Petey you did 3 years in Fort Lauderdale. So you did that first show, which was amazing, but we didn't know what to expect. You do the second one with Sid Haig, and you had all the Devil's Rejects people, right?
I'm going to tell you a story about Sid Haig. Before Sid Haig wanted to do the first Screamfest, and I told him not to do it yet because I said nobody saw House of a Thousand Corpses. I said nobody saw this movie. I went to the movie theater. There was 3 people in the movie theater. Nobody saw this movie. I said wait until everybody sees it when it comes out on VHS and stuff like that. We actually had a bootleg copy of it and showed it at the first.
I remember. Yeah,
we showed it at the first Screamfest.
I remember that.
And the next year, Spooky Empire was huge at the time, and we showed the trailer that Rob Zombie sent us. Do you remember that?
Yep.
Rob Zombie sent us the trailer of Devil's Rejects, and we were the first people to show the trailer, Devil's Rejects, and we showed it on Sunday, and there was a line around the block. And we were in that small little ballroom to show it, and we had to move it to the bar.
I remember.
Yeah. But
what year did Sid Haig perform The Wedding?
That was the third year.
Third year.
That was in Coral Springs.
Coral Springs.
But then in between that, you did a sci-fi show.
Sci-fi show. And
that I helped you out with.
Yes. And do you remember the pop culture show that nobody came to?
And the pop culture show, I really helped you because
You really helped me. Yes. You brought in a guest there.
But one of my favorite memories of my life is from that pop culture show.
Oh, yes. I know.
You know that, right?
Yeah.
What, did you meet the lady from Escape from Witch Mountain?
No, I had Amber Benson was there, and I was working on a film with her, and we did a screening in downtown Fort Lauderdale for the premiere in Fort Lauderdale, and Tiffany was at Petey's show.
I think I'm alone now.
Oh yeah.
Tiffany's like, I want to go to this movie. So Tiffany went to the movies with us and sat next to me.
Yeah.
And now 14-year-old Mike got really excited because I was going on a date with Tiffany in the movies. Now her husband was sitting on the other side of her, but we don't talk about him.
That ruins the story right there.
I wonder if he's still around.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I keep thinking about booking her because Tim Bendig has her.
Yeah, she almost came to our show a couple of years ago. I was really excited, but Disney stopped it because she was doing a show in Disney, and she was like, "Hey, can I come by and be a guest?" And I was like, "Oh, absolutely."
Well, Mike, Mike has that wrestling. Maybe we could get Tiffany to fight Debbie Gibson. That would be
that happened already.
Oh, has it happened?
Yeah, it happened already. Yeah,
I'm way.
You're a little late. Yeah,
you're a little late on that. Okay.
Yeah.
So I remember. So the second year was was the House of the Corpses year, which was insane. You know, like 2,500 people in a building that was only made for 1,000.
Yes.
And it was through the roof. And then I remember things that happened in that bar, Terry. I remember seeing things, anatomy lessons. You did the sci-fi show with Carradine and Peter Mayhew, and that's where I met Mini-Me.
Vern Troy and Mini-Me, yes.
Who you became tight with.
I was really tight with him for many years. And you know what's so funny? He was drinking so much at the time. Like, my brother was giving him vodka and Sprite, like, constantly. He could outdrink anybody. And he was drinking so much. He later on came to my show later on, and, you know, he remembers me and everything, but he didn't remember half of my staff that took care of him that time, you know, because he was so drunk, you know. And
Vern, I remember he had to have somebody go to the bathroom with him.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I don't know if you know the story, Terry. Vern was awesome. He was a cool fucking guy. But he was so small. And
you had to lift him?
No, he was afraid that somebody would try and steal him.
Yeah. Yeah, like people would have duffel bags, and he was afraid that someone was going to grab him and put him in a duffel bag.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Imagine being in life like that.
Yeah.
It's like, you ever see the movie Ted with the teddy bear?
Yes.
Just like that.
Oh, yeah. I guess that you could see that. And, you know, God rest his soul. He was a big part of Spooky Empire there for a while.
Yeah.
You know, you're bringing back a memory when you had Corey Feldman at your show. You remember when you had Corey Feldman?
Oh, God, but that was Orlando already.
No, that was the third year in Coral Springs.
Was the third year.
Was that in Coral Springs?
Yeah.
And that was really interesting. He seemed like a very nice guy, though. Was he hard to handle?
He was hard to handle. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, right, Feldman. Because I'm thinking about when Corey Haim came.
Yeah, Corey Haim. That's a whole weird story.
That's a whole different later, but Corey Feldman, right?
Corey Feldman. When he came, he was a very, very cool guy, but he was very like he wanted me to be with him like the whole time. And I was like, well, I'm trying to run a show, you know, and he was like, you know, with me the whole time, and he wanted to go to South Beach, and like I told my friend Alan, I was like, Alan, just take him to South Beach. You know, and then he went to South Beach and stuff like that. Yeah, he was cool. He was a cool guest. You know,
he never took off his sunglasses. He was
never.
Like
we went to Cracker Barrel for breakfast, and he didn't take off his sunglasses the whole time, man.
So that third show, I remember parking with 4,500 people. I think you had.
Yeah.
That we could count, not counting the people who came for the party afterwards that just hung out.
Yeah.
At that Coral Springs Marriott, and I remember parking was insane. And every scene kid, because that was like during the time of like these scene kids, and like what was that website that all those scene kids were on? MySpace was already popular, but there was another one.
Yeah, MySpace just started.
But like every scene kid, every goth kid was at that show, and I don't think most of them gave a shit about celebrities.
No, not at all.
They were just there to hang out.
Yeah, that's when the party just started, kind of. It was like started to become the party convention and everything like that, and everyone was like, oh my god, this is not like MegaCon, this is not like FX.
Well, so MegaCon and FX were the two big shows in Orlando when Petey started and when I started, and FX was a big toy show and MegaCon is MegaCon, and so those were the two shows in Florida, and there was nothing. All that we had in Fort Lauderdale when you started was that guy Charles did the CCC comic shows, which was like
he was real cocky too. Do you remember how cocky he was?
Oh yeah, they're still cocky.
Yeah. Listen, I gotta give props to Charles because he invited me to Tallahassee for a show, and he told me I was his only celebrity besides Margot Kidder.
Ooh.
So he sat me right next to Margot Kidder for the whole show, which was awesome. As a Superman fan, also a fan of what was it called? Black Christmas. Christmas. Remember Black Christmas?
I remember Black Christmas.
Oh yeah, very, very awesome.
So Charles, you remember? So Charles has Hot Flips now, which he sets up at shows, but hockey, and he was the big convention guy, and he would draw like 80 people. He would do it at like these small buildings. He would get like the guy from Buck Rogers, or Margot Kidder, and that was the thing. And so he was like pontificating about what shows are supposed to be like, and you're never gonna have, and then you blow it up.
You're never gonna do anything. Blah blah. Blah. Yeah, like he would he would talk to me and Mike like we were like
children.
Yeah, we were like nothing, and we were younger than everybody though at the time. You know,
Right? Yeah.
So,
Well, you guys were kind of like the young bucks trying to, make your way in the world, and a lot of people didn't believe in you. Of course, I believed in you early on, certainly. I certainly believed in you.
Okay.
Well, we love you, Terry. We know.
Terry. But yeah, like, do you remember like even like the guy from FX? He was like, well, we're better than you, like.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Mike
was better than us.
There was a war. There was a war between. We were trying to bring peace between FX and MegaCon. Do you remember that? And I think you did it. Didn't you do it, Mike? Didn't you bring Mike?
No, we hung out at a bar one night with them.
It was there's a picture. There's a photo of us four.
Yeah, but it's all bullshit.
It was bullshit.
But the minute we left that room, she's talking to every comic book guy in Florida, going, "I don't want you doing Mike's show or Mike's show," because the guy who ran FX was Mike.
Well, we were all like that. We were like, we're whatever.
Yeah,
I never told the comic book artists that lived in Florida they couldn't do MegaCon or another show.
All right.
Right, like that's. I mean, talking about flying guests in from out of state's another story, paying fees, but. She was telling comic book people who lived in Tampa and Orlando, I don't want to see you at other shows.
Yeah. Okay.
And we had that really nice drinks at the bar. I thought everything was cool.
I remember that. Yeah.
And then
I remember it very clearly because it was the four of you. You were all getting along, and the stars of Firefly were right there too.
Right.
You remember that? The beautiful girl who played Inara. She was right there.
Morena Baccarin.
Yes, beautiful lady.
Who I worked with when I had the movie business.
Yeah.
On that film Way Off Broadway, which did we ever show Way Off Broadway at your festival? See?
Oh, very popular in Melbourne.
It all comes back.
Was she supposed to be at my convention?
Yes, we were trying to probably work that out back. No.
The pop culture show.
Was she? No, we had Amber Benson.
She was the big guest. Remember, Amber Benson was the big guest.
Right, because she was on Buffy.
Yeah.
I was trying to get you somebody else, but it wasn't Morena.
That show was a really great show that nobody came to.
Right, because he used the word pop culture.
Yeah. Nobody
didn't get it.
Yeah, nobody got it.
Yeah, the Planet of the Apes guys.
What should have been called?
I don't know, but
James.
We had the Planet of the Apes people.
Grab me those. Those Planet of the Apes things.
We had Huggy Bear. We had Tiffany.
Photos. Yes.
You had the girl from Witch Mountain.
Escape the girl from Witch Mountain, which was on Housewives of Beverly Hills.
Just those.
Yes.
So, Petey, I want to show you something.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you something really cool. All right. So that pop culture show, okay?
Yeah.
This is from your pop culture show.
Yes.
Dr. Zayas.
It hangs, Booth Coleman. It hangs on my wall right here in my office.
Yeah.
10 feet from me. This came from your pop culture show.
Yeah.
I have a ton of autographs from your original shows that I got. The Kyra from Dawn of the Dead, the Doug Bradley, when you had Doug Bradley at that second show.
Yeah, Doug Bradley's awesome. Yeah.
Pinhead,
yeah. Dude, he was only charging $5 an autograph. Yeah. $5 an autograph.
But Terry, what you were so that pop culture show, Tiffany, Huggy Bear, Amber Benson, the Planet of the Apes people. Who else?
Rico Brown, first time.
Oh, right.
Rico's first show.
Jared Brown. I'd love to see more POTA guests. You know what? I did it too when I did my Comic-Cons in Miami. I brought in all the living guys from the TV shows and Lucius from the movie. Nobody cared. They bombed. Planet of the Apes guys are phenomenal.
Oh, we love them, but they never did good at the shows.
Nobody ever comes see them. They sit at the table, and it sucks because nobody. I don't know. Maybe it's just too old. Maybe the fans are too old.
Yeah. I always loved it. I always thought it was like we thought it was going to be big. Remember, we brought in the Planet of the Apes people. There was some other big people at that show that were. I know how
you had the woman from the soap opera thing.
Oh, Dynasty, or she was in Dynasty. No, who am I talking about?
She was huge.
She was from Dynasty. We had someone.
Linda Evans?
No.
No.
There was some major woman from like one of those like late night, kind of shows like Dynasty, and nobody cared.
Yeah.
Because social media hadn't quite hit yet.
Didn't hit yet. Yeah.
And the only way to get press was newspapers.
Yeah. I remember I got so sick. I was throwing up and everything like that. And I was just so sick. And I was just like, I can't believe no one came to this. We had a lot of press on it because we had all the normal people. So we had a lot of press, but still nobody came. And it almost put us out of business. Yeah. I almost stopped doing it. And then my partner at the time, his name was Blaine, he was like, you got to keep doing the horror convention. You got to keep doing the horror convention. That's your thing. And then that's how the Coral Springs show happened.
Hey, Petey, why did you have to leave South Florida and move to Central Florida?
Well, let's get to that. So At the end of the third show, you had 4,500 people at that show. Again, too big for the building.
Yes.
And then you had two options.
Yeah.
Now go.
It was the options were we go to the convention center, which we couldn't do, or we got a phone call. Actually, we got the phone call from we got a phone call from Orlando, from the Wyndham, saying, hey, we want you. This is what we're offering, right?
Oh, fantastic.
And, dude, I remember the first person I called about it was Robert Mercetti. Do you remember Robert Mercetti?
Yep.
Fear Films or something like that, right?
Yep.
So I called him up. I said, what do you think? And then he was like, he had no money involved in it or nothing. He was like, yeah, I guess. Let's go to Orlando, And then I think I talked to you a lot about it too, right?
And I thought you were crazy.
Yeah. I think you did. I think you didn't want me to go. I
said, we'll find you a better venue.
Yeah.
We'll find something.
But Orlando was giving me this amazing deal.
You should have.
I was scared though,
Right.
I was scared to go, and there was the FX and MegaCon were already there.
Well, also back then, if you had a convention in Florida, it had to be in Orlando. There were no geek fan conventions or anything in South Florida. Yeah. And nothing lasted in South Florida. And everything was, oh, but you're not in Orlando. Oh, they're doing a show in Orlando. They're a real show. Right? Like it was always considered that if you didn't do a show.
It was hard to get vendors. Do you remember how hard it was to get the vendors to come all the way to South Florida?
Yep. They would make the drive.
Which you pulled off later on.
But it took years.
South Florida had a bad reputation. It just had a bad reputation for fail.
I mean, after I left and Mike came out and started doing his shows, it was still so hard to get the vendors, but you clicked into that anime market, that like the anime market, people just, came in droves.
Remember? So what happened, Terry, is that Petey, I think Petey could have gone to Miami to the MAC.
I didn't know about the MAC, but yeah.
Right. But like, I was like, you go to the MAC. I probably didn't say that, but I knew that we would find you a venue. Like I was like, Orlando's so weird. Like you don't have an audience there. You've got all these people here that love your show. You're making money. You got to keep doing it here.
Yeah.
And you were like, well, the Wyndham's offering me the sun, the moon, the stars. Yeah. And you're like, I'm going to move it. So then Petey decides to move it. And that first year you had Eddie Furlong, right?
Yeah.
And then
small. It was a small show.
Right, you kind of went a little backwards.
Yes, absolutely.
Is that right? It was less attendance, but it was an awesome location.
It became awesome, right?
That first show was rough.
It was rough. Yeah, the first show was rough. We were only in the one ballroom, and we put the film festival in there, the Q&A room, and we didn't have many vendors because nobody wanted to give me a shot, because you did FX or MegaCon. You know what I'm saying? You didn't. Spooky Empire was, who's this kid?
Well, Screamfest at the time.
At Screamfest. It was Screamfest at the time. It's like, who gives a crap about this kid?
And Petey, you had built up an audience.
Yeah.
Of South Florida people from downtown who were going to your show, getting drunk, having a party. Absolutely. And then you move it, and the people in Orlando didn't know about your show, so it's like you're starting from scratch over again.
I didn't live there, right. So it was hard to get the word out. I didn't have Brett handing out flyers in Orlando. You know,
Now you were closer to Terry, so that made Terry happy.
Yeah, but
much happier.
Let's talk about that's a good point. When because I watched one of your other episodes about flyer and stuff. When we went to Orlando, we did flyer, but we did not flyer like we did in South Florida because I was here and Brett was here.
Petey and I would flyer in the old days. And like I had my show and you had your show, Petey. By that, we would go to the Ren Fair.
Oh yes.
And nobody would let us in anything. And Petey and I would go to the Ren Fair and like incognito be putting flyers on people's cars.
Yeah.
And then the Ren Fair security would come and scoot us out.
Yeah. Almost arrested for handing out flyers, man.
You can't be here.
You know, nobody realizes the hustle you guys had to do to spread the word.
Oh, absolutely.
I was there. I remember you guys getting roughed up for putting flyers where they shouldn't be.
Yeah.
You got in trouble that one year at was it Dragon Con in the hotel?
Yeah, that was bad. Yeah, at Dragon Con we handed out probably over 20,000 flyers or something.
Yeah.
It was like 20,000 flyers, and me and Matt went
overnight.
Overnight, we put them on every single door. We had door hangers. You know the door hangers that the pizza delivery people do? We did Spooky Empire ones, and we went to every door. There was over 5,000 hotel rooms that we put the door hangers of our flyer. The next morning, everybody was talking to us. One of the guys who helps run Dragon Con calls me to the side and said, if there was any other person that did this, I would be throwing you out.
I mean, we got away with a lot, and but we hustled, right? And so Petey moves his show to Orlando, and then that was like 2005, right? Your first Orlando show was 05?
Yeah.
And then there's no show in Orlando, and then my film company's falling apart, and I'm like, I got to do something. I got to pay the rent, and I go, I'm going to.
Do you want to go into that, Mike? Why your film company's falling apart, or we'll just keep that quiet?
No,
dude, things move on, and his film festival. I mean,
Terry, it's simple. Blockbuster starts going out of business.
Yeah,
Hollywood Video goes out of business. The DVD industry collapses. Digital isn't a thing yet. I can't sell TV anymore. When I started in the film business, you could sell a movie to HBO for $350,000, an independent film, and at the end, you're selling the same film to IFC for $5,000. The money dried up. The independent theaters were going out of business. They were slow paying, right? Like there's a million reasons why. And I'm releasing movies under the same pattern I was doing 5 years earlier, and 5 years earlier, the business model worked. But now the newspapers were charging more for advertising. They were getting rid of the reviewers. So they started getting rid of the film reviewers, and they stopped reviewing independent film, and the theaters couldn't pay. And so, you there's no money. And so I got to come up with something. And then a bunch of things happen along the way. And then I'm like, I got to do something. And I'm like, I'm going to run a show. So I go to Petey and I say, I'm going to run a convention. And I go, I'm going to do a Comic-Con. And he goes, as long as it's not a horror show, don't book any horror guests, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, and I go, fine. I go, I'm going to do a Superman show. And then I booked that first show with Margot Kidder and all the Superman people.
Yeah.
And I start promoting, and nobody gave a shit. And so nobody cared till I started flyering that I had Billy West and that I had anime.
Yeah.
And that's
anime was big in this town,
Right, but that's how I really became different than you day one. Was because I put anime. There was an anime called Black Lagoon with these two sexy anime girls. I stuck them on a flyer. I didn't have any anime voice actors, and people got excited because it was an anime show. They could come dress up.
And like, to be honest, like our personalities are so, even though we're friends and everything, our personalities are like so different that it comes out in our conventions,
Right. So I was putting on something. My first show was Margot Kidder, the Iron Sheik, and Billy West.
Yeah.
Right.
I was there.
That's a Mike Broder show, right? Petey's show is, crappy independent rock bands
rock and roll
that had cool costumes like and cool gimmicks, and Gunnar Hansen and Doug Bradley.
Yeah, rock and roll. Oh, and like Gidget Gein from Marilyn Manson, and
Right.
Joey Image from the Misfits, and like stuff like that. That was like what were like my first guests, and then Mike was going through the with all the Superman people, and then all that.
Sandy says we're both insane, so that's what we have in common.
That is, yeah, that's true.
But nobody else would have done what we did, and we both did it in our own way.
Is anybody watching this that are not our friends?
Probably not. Who cares?
Yeah, I know. Whatever. This is a good. Yeah, go on.
I saw a note that it said that you're both insane, and you got that in common.
Yeah.
It's true. Terry, you were there at the beginning for both of us.
Yes.
Right, Terry?
Hello?
Yeah.
You were there at the beginning for both of us, Terry. Terry's
Oh,
wow.
Yeah. And
Terry's got bad technology.
Very, very, very talented. You're very talented folks, and you've done a lot. And I'm very proud of the empire you guys have both built. It's just
he's
amazing.
got the empire. I have the galaxy.
Yeah, I was talking to Sandy the other day about how you guys basically are treating in happiness.
Happy what? What's happiness about what we're doing?
You bring happiness to a lot of people.
Oh, that is true.
Happiness
that is true. Yeah.
Hang on, Mike Lee says he's here for you, Terry.
And that's what it's all about. I think I'm breaking up again. I'm gonna leave and come back. Okay.
All right.
Okay. Come back.
But yeah, so where were we at?
So you moved to Orlando. I start the show in Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah.
I do the first show. I get 1,500 people.
Yeah.
When nobody thought I would get anything.
Absolutely.
But I did put anime on the flyer, and then all those kids showed up.
Uh-huh.
And then really quickly, I went into that anime cosplay, arena, and like MegaCon had all the big Star Trek guests and all the big media guests, and I couldn't afford that.
Yeah.
Right. So I start booking voice actors.
Yeah. I mean, I remember I was never a fan of MegaCon. Never a fan of MegaCon. I was a huge fan of FX, and like when FX got all these like great people and stuff like that, but like the thing that made FX so great was his exclusives. Remember?
Oh, like the Greatest American Hero Migo that I never got.
Yeah, which, dude, I don't even want to get into it because I had 2 of them and they're gone.
Oh.
I would have gave you one, but.
And then he had years ago. He had that Creature from the Black Lagoon. You shake it in the snow globe.
Snow globe, and then he also had the Pez dispensers, and that was what his thing. But what happened with FX was he tried to be MegaCon because MegaCon was drawing more people. So he was trying to do that, and I think me and you were trying to do our own thing, which I think was more hipper than what they were doing. I think what they were doing was old school, Well,
you and I were just doing whatever we could out of necessity.
Yeah. Okay.
Like we couldn't get like you went and did your thing because you're not a comic guy.
No.
You're not a Star Trek guy.
Yeah.
When you talk about Star Trek, you're like Star Trek.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I hate Star Trek.
Right. But you're not a Star Trek guy. You're not a comic book guy.
Yeah.
You're a rock and roll guy. So
Absolutely.
You built a show around your personality.
Yeah.
I built a show where people would have fun, and it's kind of my personality. The cosplay wrestling and the and the voice actors and I couldn't afford to compete with MegaCon, and neither could FX.
Yeah.
But I went and got voice actors. Like my first show was Billy West. My second show was the cartoon show.
No, but FX always had better guests than MegaCon now.
Right, but he paid too much for them,
Absolutely.
and that's what bankrupted him.
Yeah.
He couldn't afford it either, but he just overspent.
Yeah.
Now I overspend here and there too, and we all make mistakes.
We all do.
But for the most part, I built a show off of voice actors. Dana, who's supposed to be here, but he's a punk ass bitch.
Yeah.
That was my second show. My third show, I had Kevin Conroy, who's the voice of Batman. I always had strong voice actor headliners.
Yeah.
Which MegaCon and FX didn't have.
No.
But FX was trying to get the big celebrities.
Yeah, you were the first show to have all the voice actors, and it worked. It worked right away. and everybody was like, "What's going on?" You know, just like, you know, I did the opposite. I brought in the rock and roll people, and people were like, "I don't understand this. Why is he? You know, what does that have to do with, you know, this and that? You know?" And my whole, I think Spooky Empire became like this party thing. Remember, it was like the party show, you know,
and especially during the Wyndham years.
Yeah, the window, you know, and that was a lot of help from the person who was running the bar at the time. You know, she helped out a lot with drink specials, and she brought in all these entertainment and stuff like that like nobody else had at nighttime, you know, parties at, you know, except like DragonCon. I mean, we're leaving out DragonCon because DragonCon by far is one of the greatest conventions, you know, out there. You know?
I talk about all the time how the reason why, you know, what changed how I look at convention was in the 90s. I went to DragonCon and they had the Misfits and Gwar playing one night, and I went up to see the Misfits and Gwar at DragonCon, and I was like, "This is amazing! Like, this is a convention. It was a party."
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like, to give street cred to anybody, DragonCon is probably the best convention out there, and I remember going up there. It was me and my partner at the time, Blaine, and we just sat there and we looked out a window, and they had a parade with more people dressed up as stormtroopers than came to our events, you know? And it was just like, what is going on here? They are like, their party scene was way farther better than anything we could even imagine. But what I did, and you did too, because you had a party scene too at my time, and you had the raves and all that kind of stuff, just different than what I was doing. I did a pool rock and roll drunken, you know, craziness, and you did like the raves, and people were dressed up in costumes and dancing and, you know, playing Duck Duck. I remember one time I went to your show, and there was these people in the hallway playing Duck Duck Goose, and I like, you know, me and Gina were like, "Man, Broder's bringing in all these people. What are we doing? Like, we're not bringing in like the people like Broder's bringing in." And then I looked at the people playing Duck Duck Goose, and I said, "You know what? I'm okay. I'm okay with doing Spooky Empire." You know, but it was a vibe. You know, everybody had a vibe. You know,
and Terry was at all of them.
Yes,
and not drinking because Terry doesn't drink. And we can't hear Terry again.
Oh my God, Terry!
Terry, you're the worst.
If Dana was, and let's be like, I remember going to your show a lot of times, going to your show, and I know we're going off because we were going in order of when Spooky Empire exploded, which was the next year after the bad first year in Orlando.
Right, when you had Robert Englund.
Yeah, Robert Englund blew up. But I just want to say, because Dana's not here right now, but Dana coming to your show was a major part of us getting into the tiki movement, and, you know, like, we used to go to tiki bars and drink, and, you know, had a really good time with Dana. Went, let me tell you something with the Master Cup, you know.
I'm going to tell you a story.
I'm going to tell you a story on the Master Cup. Yeah, and he would draw cups all the time.
Hang on, I'm trying to see if I can text Dana. See where he's at.
And Dana always wanted to come to Spooky Empire, and you brought him to Spooky Empire once.
Yes.
Yeah, but I always thought that was your guest. But he wanted to be at Spooky Empire so bad, and when
he tattooed somebody at your show.
Yes, he tried so hard. He used to he drew his cups with bat wings, and he's just great. Dana's a great guy, and I wish he was here. Yeah.
Dana was at that one show with you where somebody comes up and goes, "I want you to draw Master Shake on my leg, and I want you to tattoo it." And Dana's like, "I'm not a tattoo artist." And then they're like, "Don't worry." And they went, and the tattoo artist gave him the.
Oh my God!
It couldn't have been legal.
Yeah. But yeah, that's how. Yeah, so like the next year. Let's keep going, I guess.
Oh, hang on. Sandy says Dana just wanted to go to Disney. She's not wrong.
That's true. That is totally true.
Dana just wanted a free trip to Orlando.
Yeah.
So Terry.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you for now.
All right.
So what do you remember about the early days?
Well, you know, I was funny. Petey was mentioning party of the Duck Duck Goose party, and I would always try to bring my kids and my wife to these shows, and it sometimes would be a little bit of stretch because my wife doesn't really like it so much, but my kids always enjoyed it. And one time we were at SuperCon at the Mac, and we were getting in the elevator, or actually we were on the elevator, and the door opens, and in comes all these people in their underpants, girls and guys in their underpants, and they look at us and they go, "Where's the party at?" And my kids can't forget it because they were wearing underoos.
Exactly.
And Terry.
Exactly.
And Terry, we used to hang out at Spooky, like with a lot of odd people that we collected over the years.
Yeah.
That you collected.
Well,
the girls who may have worked in the adult entertainment industry.
There was always a lot of fun group at Spooky Empire, and then all of a sudden you'd like look over your shoulder, and it was somebody famous hanging out, like
David Arquette.
David Arquette, or Jay, or Jay from Jay and Silent Bob.
Joey Fatone.
Joey Fatone would always show up. It would be like. It was very interesting, a very eclectic group that was.
Yeah, there was always like people hanging out at the party that you like. Like I remember Goose Gossage from the Yankees showed up. I was like, "What is going on here, man?" I was like, "This is awesome,"
Oh yeah. Unbelievable.
Yeah,
so,
they were crazy parties.
So, Petey, when you decided to bring tattooing into your show, was that a big stretch? Was that difficult?
No, that was a thing. The survival when we were in Fort Lauderdale, it was hard to get vendors. Like I was saying to Mike before, it was hard to get the vendors to come. So we had to fill the ballroom. So we would get the local tattoo artists to come in. And,
also, hang on, Petey.
Yeah.
In Fort Lauderdale at the time, the other big show, was a tattoo show.
Yes.
And that was the closest thing to what Petey was doing. And that tattoo show was happening at the Coral Springs Marriott, where he did the third Spooky Empire.
Yeah.
And at the time when you started, the tattoo show was bigger than him.
Yeah, absolutely.
The tattoo show in Coral Springs was the biggest thing for people in town. And all of our friends used to go to the tattoo show and
it was the biggest convention.
Right. And these people didn't necessarily care about even tattoos. They went because it was a party. There was rocking, there was bands, and there was drinking.
Yeah.
And when Petey was doing his show, that was the same group of people that was going to his show. And then by year 3, he's now bigger than the tattoo convention. But all the people going to the tattoo convention were now going to Petey's show.
Yeah.
That's true.
And so it only made sense to have the tattooing at his shows because those people, 1,000 of them, 1,500 of them, were used to going to a tattoo convention.
Yeah.
Is that about right, Petey?
No, it's totally true. Totally. Yeah. That was
you may be the first kind of nerdy show that had tattoo artists. I mean, outside a tattoo convention, because then, they have tattoo artists at MegaCon now.
Yeah. I mean, everybody, I did it. Like, what me and Mike have done, we've like created all kinds of stuff that everybody has copied over the years because it just filled up entertainment because people realized that they needed more than just a vendor room and a couple of celebrities.
Mm-hmm.
I think we kind of wrecked the market for that. I mean,
about the tattooing and being at other places.
Yeah.
Tattooing fits a Petey show.
Yeah.
I had a tattoo artist here and there, and I dabbled in it. And then I got rid of it because tattooing doesn't fit at my show. And I don't think it fits at MegaCon. And I don't think it fits at Comic-Cons. Like C2E2, they all do it. Yeah. I won't do it because I don't think that it fits in. I'm like, go to a tattoo show or go to a tattoo artist and get your thing done. And I know that they're geeky tattoo artists, but I just don't know that it fits into the culture of what I'm doing.
Well, I feel like you guys have comic book artists, I have tattoo artists.
But it works for you. Yeah,
I mean, we treat our tattoo artists like you guys treat your comic book artists.
Yes. Jared says that he was after the Bill Hinsman era.
Yeah.
And Bill Hinsman is another one.
Was a major part of Spooky Empire. Yeah.
Right. He was your like I had Alan Bellman for all those years. You had Bill Hinsman.
I think Dana's more.
My Bill Hinsman?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, but right, Bill Hinsman, for those who don't know, was the zombie dude in the suit in the original Night of the Living Dead from 1968. And he was a fixture at all PD shows for years.
Yeah.
And just this crazy old dude.
Yeah. And he partied harder than anybody. He was out there until the end, 5 in the morning.
In makeup. In
makeup. Yeah.
And he passed away a few years ago. And
all right. Now we just brought the mood down.
No, but I mean, it's you got to remember, like, look, there's people along the way that were with us that aren't here anymore, right?
Yeah.
One reason or another. Doesn't mean they're not, we got to remember them.
We remember a lot of people, like you just said, some comic book artists and stuff like that. But
you had Sid Haig. Sid was an important thing for you.
Absolutely.
And Bill Hinsman. Yeah. And you had a couple other guys that just
Matt, one of our employees. He was a major part of our show.
Right. Matt passed away last year. Gunnar Hansen. You wouldn't have started without Gunnar.
No. Yeah. And he was our first real guest.
And then Terry knows this. I was the last show for a lot of comic book guys. Sandy, if she were on here, she'd say how at one point in time she stopped letting me. She made all the banners and she would put comic book legend. And if she made a banner that said comic book legend, it was a death sentence.
Oh boy!
Everyone who got a comic book legend banner, that was their last show. Carmen Infantino, Al Plastino, Nick Cardy, all these guys. Sandy says she won't make a banner. She won't because she feels like she's murdering these people.
Yeah. Now
I had always kind of longed to be a comic book legend, but now I'm not going to go in that direction.
Terry, you'll always be my comic book legend in here.
Hey, there's not. When I used to go to Florida SuperCon and everything, I always drew a nice horse.
Petey, you actually have pretty good artistic skills. Don't sell yourself short.
Do you remember the time I was at MegaCon at an empty booth and I was signing autographs and stuff like that as a comic book artist and I was drawing stuff?
People were asking you to sketch and you were sketching for them. And they thought for sure you were, but you were able to fake it.
Yes.
Terry, Sandy says she'll never make you a banner.
Thank God.
All right. Where were we at? Like I remember. So
there was a big what
happened was
because there was a new convention coming to town. There was a new convention that was really going to put you guys out of business. It was called Orlando Comic-Con.
Oh, no, come on. I do.
All right, I'm going to tell one story on that, and then we're going to go past it. What Terry's referring to is there was a guy who was going to put on a show in Orlando in 2007 called Orlando Comic-Con. He put it on, and he did it, and he went around
at the
Gary Royale, and he came to me and Petey, and he said, "I feel so bad for you guys." And we go, "Why do you feel bad?" He goes, "Because I'm going to have 10,000 people at my show." And I had, he did it in 2006 because he was starting the same time I was. Yeah. He was the same year, and this 2007 was his second show. So I'm starting my show, and I'm going around telling people for 2006, I'm going to be lucky to get 1,000 people, right? Like if I get 1,000 people, I'm going to be happy. Yeah. And I'm telling vendors, like I'm looking to get 1,000 people, and they're like, I'm charging like $75 a table, $100 a table. And they're like, well, I'm not going to do your show because you're only going to have 1,000 people. This guy's going to have 10,000. Yeah. And he's going to have pipe and drape. And you don't have pipe and drape. And I go, I can't afford pipe and drape. You're paying $75 a table. There's no pipe and drape.
Yeah.
And they go, this guy's going to be in Orlando.
Can I just say one thing? Me and Mike used to buy our own tables and set them up ourselves at one time. Not now.
That's true. At one time. We used to rent our own tables.
Yes.
$8 a table and $2, $100.50 a chair.
Yeah.
And I'd borrow my buddy's van to go pick them up and trailer to go pick them up to bring them to the show and set them up.
Do you remember your show in Weston? Do you remember your show in Weston? Yeah. I remember setting up all your tables.
Yeah, because Damien was late bringing them all.
And I set them up,
because he got delayed doing something else and wouldn't be honest with me.
Yeah.
So Terry's talking 2006, the Orlando Comic-Con guy is going to happen, and he goes, I'm going to have 10,000 people, and I'm not going to have to do any work. And we're like, what do you mean you're not going to do any work? He goes, I made a deal with Coliseum of Comics. And they're going to put flyers in all their stores, and they're going to give them to all their customers, and I'm going to get 10,000 people to my show. And you guys are spending money on advertising and walking, doing all these shows and doing all this. And he goes, and I don't have to do any of that. And all the vendors told me they weren't coming to my show because I didn't have pipe and drape, and I was only going to be 1,000 people. And Petey was like 5,000 people, and they're like they're pissing on him. Yeah. So this guy's show happens. He has like 150 people.
Yeah,
150, and then
out of business.
No, he does a second year.
Oh, did he? I don't remember that.
2007. And then he's telling everyone the same bullshit. And then people are telling me, oh, no, he's coming back and he's got a plan. And I'm like, stop it. And the second show, he had 50 people show up. Most of the guests walked out on Saturday.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh.
Sandy was running Sci-Fi City in Orlando back then. And she's like, she threw his flyers in the trash and didn't even know me. I mean, now she's married to me. But she
well, it was like I remember we played stickball in the hallways because it was like Tumbleweed City. There was nobody in the convention.
We went. I think me and you went, didn't we?
Yeah,
Mike.
We were there. Mike was
there
too.
We went.
Yeah.
I think me and you went together, didn't we?
Yeah. It was what we call a bowling ball show.
Yeah.
You Petey, Terry, you've heard us use the term bowling ball show, right? Bowling ball show is a show where you can roll a bowling ball down the aisle and not hit anyone.
Well, that's
like
a good description.
The last two FXs were bowling ball shows.
Oh, it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. It's very tragic. Very tragic. Oh, so you guys survived that threat to your bottom line, and then what? What was the next step?
I don't know. Petey just kept growing in Orlando.
Yeah, I think Robert Englund, like when the next year when we got Robert Englund, it blew up. You know
that Robert Englund show. I remember that those people were lined up outside of the Wyndham, going down the side of the hotel, around the back.
Yeah, it was so incredible, and that's when I realized it's the real deal, and everything started getting legit.
But you must have had 500 people on that line to get his autograph.
Yeah, at least. Maybe more. It was crazy. It was crazy. It went all the way around. It changed the game for me. That was my game changer.
And then Terry, what a lot of people don't know, nobody cares. I was originally supposed to do a show. My first show was going to be at the Holiday Inn, where Petey did his first show.
Uh-huh.
But I realized pretty quickly I was going to oversell the room.
Yeah.
And I was like, I need more space because I can't. It's just I'm selling too many tables, and I need more space. So then I went to the Hollywood Beach Resort, and I rented that place because it was bigger.
Yeah.
It was epic. It was like Out of The Shining. It was
awful.
It was awesome. There was
vendor
tables.
Was that the guy Tabak was there? Who was at that show?
Margot Kidder. My first show was Margot Kidder.
Margot Kidder. Yes, absolutely. Okay.
The one at the beach in the abandoned mall.
Yeah.
And who picked up Margot Kidder and took her to the airport?
Paul Friendly. So,
do you remember your film festival? You had a big screen television showing the movies.
Yeah.
And it was like one of those fat TVs. Remember the fat?
Yep. The old
screen television.
I remember showing Terry's Students of Unusual films.
Yes, and it was a huge hit, Mike. But you had
Gypsy 13. Remember Gypsy 13?
Oh no, hang on, Petey. This is great.
Yeah.
We showed Terry's films.
And I walked out of there thinking I had won the Academy Award.
But tell him why.
They loved it, and they were freaking out. And then this gentleman came over and he thanked me and he said, "Thank you for taking care. We've got this special needs school and they've never seen anything like this." And
totally remember.
So
I totally remember that.
It was a whole short bus full of special needs kids.
Absolutely, I remember that.
Watch Terry's movies.
It was a good thing. It was a good thing, but I did not feel like I won the Academy Award, but at least it was a good deed. And Mike, that kind of good karma is what propelled you forward, because you had.
Is that what propelled me forward? I thought it was sadness and regret.
You had a lot of very sweet people who came to that show and probably never forgot it.
Yeah.
Well,
that's good.
That show ended up becoming two things. Number one, ticketed, we sold about 1,500 tickets. I think there were about 3,000 people at that show, because I had remember the Star Trek guys were doing security for me?
Absolutely. I had that same security for me for years.
And
yes,
midway through the show, I realized the security isn't doing anything, and people are just wandering all over the place and just walking in.
I'm going to talk about security. So over the years, we started out the same way with the Star Trek group was doing our security. Then this other guy came in. He started doing security, but all he cared about was the celebrities. Didn't care about who was coming in the door. Didn't care anything. So people were getting it for free for years. Like we were like, what's going on? How come? Look at all these people. Why did we only sell this many tickets? So that was all going on. And then I got this girl, Dina, and she took over all kinds of stuff, and she helped out organize, everything going on. But before that, my security was horrible. And I think you were the same way, right? You had horrible security for years and years. We didn't know how to
I'd hire security companies and fire them mid-show.
Yeah, we didn't know what we were doing.
My wrestlers would take over.
That's still happening, Mike. That happened in the movie.
It's because these security companies are the worst. All right, I'm going to answer a question for Alex. Alex wants to know how FSCW ended up at the shows. All right, my very first show I ever did in 06, one of the things I wanted to do, because I wanted to be like Dragon Con. Petey and I talked about how Dragon Con was the model. So I wanted to be like a party thing. So I was I always loved wrestling. First show I had Iron Sheik. So there was this thing called Kaiju Big Battle, which are these guys that dress up in
totally.
Godzilla suits and they destroy sets.
We couldn't afford them.
So I called up Kaiju Big Battle there in Boston, and I go, "Hey, what does it take to get you to come do a show?" And they're like, "Look, man, we got to drive from Boston. We got to have the costumes. We don't know how to travel light. It's going to be $10,000."
Do you remember the press kit they gave us? They gave us shirts and all kinds of stuff, videos and everything. Yeah.
But it's going to cost $10,000.
Yeah.
And I go, $10,000? I'm paying $10,000 to rent my whole building, right? I don't have $10,000. Margot Kidder was a $5,000 guarantee, and it was oh my god, it's the most.
That was a big deal. Do you remember? That was a big deal to have a guarantee. When we started out, we tried to get people with no guarantee at all. We were just airline ticket, and hotel. That's all we were giving people first.
But the sci-fi people all wanted money.
Sci-fi people wanted money.
So, and she didn't make her guarantee. Yes. Billy West made his guarantee, crushed it, but she didn't make hers. So I wanted Kaiju Big Battle. I couldn't afford it. So we do the show, and then that's 2006. A couple of years later, I always talk to people, and I'm like, "Oh, I really want to, it'd be cool to be doing, wrestling." And then I started thinking about the cosplay wrestling, and there was a guy who was a customer of Sandy's store when Sandy owned a store called War and Pieces in Davie.
Yeah.
And this is 08, 09. And I was talking to this guy, and he was a wannabe, independent wrestler who was learning how to wrestle, and he was going to the school for wrestling locally. And I'm like, I go, he's like, "Oh, you got to have wrestling." Everybody's like, "You got to have wrestling at your shows." And I'm like, if I was going to do wrestling at my shows, it's got to be superhero wrestling. It's got to be Superman versus, the Green Goblin. It's got to be, because regular wrestling doesn't make sense at a Comic-Con. So he's like, "Well, I'll do it." I go, "What do you mean you'll do it?" He goes, "I'll put it together." So he put it together. I mean, I gave him, a couple of bucks. He convinced a couple other guys to do it. He dressed up as Carl from Aqua Teen, and we had a Cobra Commander and a couple of other guys, and we had a wrestling show, and it was popular. And I think the first one we did was 2009 at the Bruce Campbell show. because we put everything around to do it. And then after that, it just kept growing and growing and growing. And that's how it started. But it was I couldn't afford Kaiju Big Battle, but I could afford $100 for a couple of really shitty costumes.
Now, Mike, there was a little bit of trouble. Like for a while there, you were doing the wrestling, and then you pulled back, and then you jumped into it again. What was that all about? That
was a couple years later, and dealing with independent wrestlers is like dealing with a bunch of children.
Yeah.
So we went through a phase where we didn't have the wrestling for a while, but then we brought it back because there were a bunch of good eggs and there were a couple of bad eggs, and for a little while the bad eggs,
Okay, so it wasn't because of insurance or anything like that.
No, okay. No. I think Petey left us.
I think you mentioned Bruce Campbell and he ran.
No, I didn't mention Bruce Campbell till he was already out of the room. That's a whole nother can of worms.
Oh
Petey's
man,
drinking that beer. Hang on.
What'd you say? Did I miss something?
Somebody asked me how the FSCW came along.
Yeah.
So I said, and originally it wasn't FSCW, it was SCW. It was Supercon Championship Wrestling, and then it became FSCW. And that was at my Bruce Campbell show where Petey got mad at me for bringing in Bruce Campbell.
That's not true, man. It wasn't that true.
It is true.
It's water under the bridge, man.
It's
water under the bridge, but to be like, let's be honest with you, it was not that. It was some guy that I can't even remember the guy's name.
Eddie
I don't even know who that is.
It was the Twilight dude. Yeah. No, but what happened with the Bruce Campbell thing?
Some shitty agent fucking got us in the fight.
But what happened before that with Bruce Campbell was it was a couple of vendors, and it was a couple of vendors who went in your ear. Oh, Mike's trying to copy you now. He's getting horror people.
Maybe that could have been it. Yeah,
I could tell you exactly who it is, Chris Widener. Terry, we all love each other.
Yeah, dude.
Terry, you froze again.
Keep the love, brothers. Keep the love.
No, but it was like there's always been.
Okay, I'll come back.
Yeah.
Terry, in this thing.
Where did he go?
He got froze again.
Oh.
But people are always trying to start shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
People always say he said, she said.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they always try and cause drama.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Did you get another beer?
No, I'm good. Where are we at now?
I don't know. Terry went away and now left us by ourselves. Now we're going to wrap up in a minute anyway because it's been an hour and 15.
Wow. This has been a good episode, right?
It's been fun.
Hopefully people watched it. How many people are on there?
I don't know. We'll figure it out later.
Okay.
Sandy can tell me. Sandy, text me and tell me how many people watched. And Dana's an a-hole because he never came on.
Yeah. But
we'll wait for Terry to come back before we say goodbye.
Yeah. But overall, man, we're still in business, so maybe.
Right, I got to go feed the cats.
Yeah.
And I know I'm wrapping it up.
Yeah, but overall, like we came in, we came into Florida, we did a good job, and
But we were talking. You're talking the other day. You're like, because I did the Q&A. I did the thing with. Hey Terry, I was talking to. Oh God.
That other show that I was watching, Celebrity Wax, or what is that called?
Oh, Celebworks. So you were watching the Celebworks thing where I did an interview, and you're like,
you
always give away too much. You always say too much.
Oh, you tell all our secrets, and like I always get mad at you because like I'm like, dude, we came from like the bottom. We had nothing. We built it up to, and we tell, and then you go out and tell all our secrets to everybody. But like you said, nobody listens to us anyway. So.
Right, to Terry, I tell him, I go, what does it matter? Nobody pays attention, nobody listens, nobody believes. And I say,
I don't know how many people are listening right now, Mike. You're probably giving away secrets right now.
But I could say, go out. I would say anybody starting a show, go out and hand out flyers to every single person you could get a flyer in the hands of, and they'll go, oh yeah, I'm going to do that. But are they going to go do it? Yeah. Petey, remember what we did?
No, I mean, we won't do it now. You know what I'm saying? Would we do what we did back then?
Never.
No, it's too hard. We
every day We'd go to an event each. You were going to rock and roll shows.
Yeah.
We would go. You'd go see LA Guns.
Absolutely.
We'd go to an LA Guns concert in Fort Lauderdale at the Culture Room, and we in the rain. It would be raining. We'd be getting wet, and you would be standing in the parking lot handing out flyers, and then people would come and go, "Oh yeah, I own that show.
Yeah.
That's my show."
Oh, I used to meet people and go, "Oh, Spooky Empire, I run that show." People would come up to me. I remember that. It was at an LA Gun show. Someone came up to me and said, I run
LA Guns.
Empire. And I was like, I'm handing a flyer to this guy, and he runs my show. I was like, well, maybe you should take these flyers and start handing out these things.
Should have asked him for some money. I thought you were paying me.
I was like, Jesus Christ. But, we busted our ass to get to where we are and everything. And all these new conventions that come out and go, hey, I'm going to get these guests. They have no idea. They have no idea. And it's a lot easier now than before because all they have to do is get on our Facebook page or our Instagram and try to
Is it easier now? You got to spend money on like when we started Facebook. First off, Facebook didn't exist. It was MySpace.
It was MySpace. MySpace helped us a lot.
But
Dude,
you remember,
give credit to Tom. Remember Tom?
Tom was awesome. Yep. I used to get those programs about adding friends on MySpace, and then I would share them with you.
Yeah.
I'd be like, this is how I'm adding friends on MySpace. Yeah. And we would stay up
all night. Remember all night trying to get friends on Facebook, on MySpace?
Terry, we would stay up till 6, 7, 8 in the morning from like 10 p.m. to like 7, 8 a.m. We would just be add friend, add friend, add friend, add friend.
Yeah.
I thought
they had a bot that would do that for you.
That came later.
Yeah, but we did it individually. Each person.
But then we got the bots, and then we did all that nonsense, and then Facebook came around. You had to start over with Facebook because first it was Friendster, then it was MySpace, then it was Facebook. We had to learn Twitter.
I didn't do Friendster. I think that was before.
I did.
Did you?
For the film stuff.
I did the
film stuff. Yeah.
But is anybody going to work like Wingy? Wingy did it when Wingy started his show. Yeah. Like last year, Terry. Wingy's the only one who's worked as hard as we have, where he goes out every night and hands out flyers. But people,
well, you've been a mentor. You and Sandy have mentored him. So he's seen it happen. But how many shows, Mike, could you name that have tried to come into your domain and failed? Wizard World, what was it? Coochie Pop, something Pop. I can't remember.
Same thing in my world. Like, dude, I've had I could name like 10. One-time deal horror conventions that everyone thinks they're going to change the world. There was this one in West Palm Beach that actually in their advertising said, we are going to be bigger than Spooky Empire in their advertising.
That was the crazy woman.
Yes.
From Hot Horror Harlot was her email.
Yeah.
And her friend, Joanna, is now an agent, Patty.
She's great. She's great.
And Joanna's great. But Joanna was working with that woman, and that woman was going around promising the world, and they ran their show, and 80 people, they told everybody they had sold like 10,000 tickets.
Yeah.
And then it was raining, and 80 people showed up, and she's like, oh, they couldn't get here. Brett Wayner, there you go. Fatality Fest.
Yeah. Brett.
But they blamed it on us. They blamed it on you. They said you blocked people.
Yeah, they blamed it a lot on me. Yeah.
They couldn't come. And
Pop Shock blames it on both of us,
But they don't.
Pop Rock.
Right, but I remember we would go to the LA Guns. We would go to we'd go to rock shows where there were 10 people.
Yeah.
And you'd hand out flyers. We'd go to the Button.
Yeah, the Button. Yeah, I mean, this was all. Yeah, we went everywhere, and then we I eventually got a couple of great people helping me hand out flyers.
You got Matt.
I had Matt. Matt was amazing. Matt was like, there's nobody ever in the history of flyer handing out than Matt. Matt handed out over 100,000 flyers a show. 100,000 flyers a show. God.
And you would bitch and moan because Matt would go to all your celebrities at your shows and be like, I just need some autographs.
And he would get like 50, 60 autographs from each fucking celebrity. And I was like, what are you doing, man? You're embarrassing me. That's all he wanted, is these autographs, but he handed out flyers to me.
But my God, he worked harder for you
Absolutely.
than anyone else in human history.
Everybody wanted him. He was the guy everybody wanted. You know?
And he loved you. He loved your show.
Yeah. God bless him.
Right. And he would bitch to me about you all the time.
Of course.
And right after he bitched about his husband, who he would never leave either.
Yeah.
And he would just, you know, he
was hardcore. He was Spooky Empire hardcore.
Well, Spooky Empire never would have gotten where it was.
Empire shirt all the time. Didn't matter, you know?
Spooky Empire never would have gotten where it was without Matt. And
absolutely. I give him he was always the first person we always thanked in the program. And we wouldn't get to where we were because of Matt. Absolutely.
And Brett, who's on here.
Brett helped me out in the beginning, yes.
Monster. You had there's a lot of people all over the years just worked for both of us.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people who aren't with me anymore that just worked really hard. That
at one time said, you know, enough.
Right, but but the problem. But Terry knows this.
Yeah.
We're tough. We just keep running hard, and we don't slow down. Right, so we just keep going, and people, you know, get over it because it's our thing, and we're insane, and we're demanding, and we'll work the 80 hours a week nonstop.
True. And we have good partners too. Let's give credit to our partners.
Oh, well, I certainly wouldn't gotten where I'm at without Sandy.
You got Sandy. I have Gina. You know, and
Gina does all your work.
Yes, Gina's like a major part of Spooky Empire, and Sandy's a major part of GalaxyCon. You know,
well, both of them.
Guys, I just want to give a shout out to my wife too, because I would not be the man I am without my wife. So, just so that we're all on the same page, you know. My wife accused me of being immature, and I told her to get out of my fort.
No, but Petey, like
I think our wives cleaned us up a lot. You know, you know what I'm saying?
And they made us professional.
They made us definitely professional. There was a lot of things in the beginning we did that, you know, might have been not what we should have been doing and stuff like that. But we got to a point where both of our wives cleaned us up a little bit. You know,
we had to grow up. I mean, originally we did whatever we had to do.
I don't know if we've grown up that much. I mean, you have actual little dolls behind you. I'm playing with fucking all kinds of shit too. You know,
if this idiot would show up.
Oh, let me tell you something. I'm the milkshake.
All right, so it's 8:24, and I got to go feed the cats before my wife murders me.
Man, this has been real. It's been cool, man. I hope everybody enjoyed it.
Terry,
yeah, thanks a lot, Mike. Thanks for hosting this, and Pete, great seeing you. You guys stay safe, stay healthy.
Hang on. Before we go,
yeah,
Petey is SpookyEmpire.com. For anybody who doesn't know, it is the horror convention in the Southeast. It's in Orlando. You know, live it, learn it, love it.
That's it.
And Terry is The Healing is your new project.
Yeah, The Healing is a 11-chapter superhero story. Each chapter is written and illustrated by a different writer-artist team. Mike, you're on one of the teams with Georges Gente. It's a fantastic chapter you did. We had a successful Kickstarter. You can check us out on Kickstarter, The Healing. Check it out.
Hey, before everybody goes, I just want to say one thing. I know we're all collectors. I have the bat that caused the coronavirus. The original bat that caused the coronavirus. I have it in my possession.
Collectible.
I just want to let you know this is the original collector.
Terry,
number one.
Hang on, wait a second. Terry.
Yes.
Can we get that to some doctors to get a cure for this thing?
Let's get some DNA out of that thing quick.
All right, guys.
Good night, guys.
Cool, man. Thank you.
One second when we go backstage.
All right, man.
Thanks again for tuning into GalaxyCon Live. Make sure to check out our online store at galaxycon.myshopify.com, where you can find t-shirts, signed and certified Funko Pops, autographs, collectibles, and more. For updates on the upcoming streams, visit us on Facebook at GalaxyCon Live or galaxycon.com.